America, we tired of living like this.
Can I talk to somebody on the night? Before God ever next levels you, he separates you. Stop calling it loneliness. You're not alone, you've been separated. Now listen, God separates us for 3 reasons. Number 1, anytime God separates you, it's because I want to give you the tools necessary for your destiny. That's the first reason I've separated you. You're not alone, boo-boo. You've been separated. The second reason that God separates you is because I want you to clearly know my voice. And you're surrounded by too many voices to where you can't hear my voice from the coach's voice, to your friend's voice, to your bae's voice, to your mama's voice. I'm gonna keep on going till y'all get it. I need you to know my voice. So I'm gonna put you in a season where I could train you and teach you how to know my voice. Because where I'm taking you, you're gonna have to know when I say stop. And for where I'm taking you, you're gonna have to know when I say move. Because when I say move, you need to move just like that. I need you to know me so much so that when I say, even though it's hard, this is not where you give up. I need you to know my voice. You're not alone. You've been separated. And the third reason that God separates us, which is my personal favorite, he separates us to make us unrecognizable to the people who only knew us by our wound. Talk, Holy Ghost. There's some people, they only know you by your divorce. I'm gonna make you unrecognizable. There's some people only know you by you used to be a stripper. Coming this season, I'm gonna make you unrecognizable. There's some people who only know you by your issue and your trauma and your drama and your pain and your heartache and your sob story. But I'm gonna do something so massive in your life where you're gonna have to reintroduce yourself.
Grand rising kings and queens from Africa and across the nation, welcome back to my YouTube commentary. I greet you so much with love, strength, and the fire of truth. Now, today I'm going to deal with the message that is shaking the earth. A message that is waking up our people everywhere, that the God of black people, the true and living God, is separating the evil from the righteous ones. This is not religion, or this is not just religion, okay? This is prophecy. This is history, is reality, okay? All through the ages, there comes a time when the Creator decides enough is enough and the lies can no longer rule. The oppressor can no longer hide. The wicked can no longer sit at the same table as the righteous. And family, we are in that time. And that's why there's a video I made saying that we are on the rapture time. Okay? Think about it. We live in a world built on deception. Slavery was justified through lies. Colonization was justified through lies. Racism and white supremacy was built on lies. But the Most High does not tell lies forever. Does not let lies live forever. The truth is, one day, just one day, everything will come out clean. Okay? Everything will come out clean. And when truth rises, separation begins. Okay? Evil and righteousness cannot walk together forever. Eventually, they must be pulled apart. The wheat must be separated from the tares. The sheep must be separated from the goats. The builders of freedom must be separated from the builders of restrictions. And that's why the video, I'm going to talk about it today. But before I go down to that video, let's watch these clips here, and then we come back with more commentary.
I need you to hear me right now. A lot of people are saying that this is Republican versus Democrat, and I need you to take a step back and realize that this is not that. This is the light versus dark. God is the light, God is good, and that is all we have. Turning your back on other people and not praying for them, not praying with them, we are losing an entire side of our population if we are just cutting them off. Jesus ate dinner with sinners. This should be an act to bring us together, and I understand that the people that do not see this as a vile act probably have some spirits attached, but that is why we need to be praying for them and not be creating a line. I just wish you could see it's not Democrat versus Republican. It is good versus evil. It is good versus evil. Say your prayer.
All right, so now y'all see what's going on with the segregation rules, how they're trying to separate the blacks and the whites again. Remember, this is part of the Exodus moment. This is part of the moment where God has to regather his group of people back into the land flowing with milk and honey. Okay, like I said, it's all being prophesied. And you see what's going on with the war that the U.S. is supporting in the Middle East. Okay, just put the pieces together. All right. Now I know they're trying to bring forth a NWO and the fall of Babylon and all those things like that. Just look at the whole picture. Okay, it's a regathering of true Israel. It's a regathering, and those people are now getting wiped out. Sadly, you know, it's not a good thing because of the things that's going on with the heinous acts. And a lot of countries are not happy with the United States right now. Okay, so it's actually, I wouldn't say it's a good or a bad thing, but it's the Most High's will, a will thing, to have this segregation and these separations so that God's people can regather. That's what's happening. Shalom.
Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. That's not just a warning from the Bible. That is the world we live in right now. Sin is everywhere and people don't even recognise it anymore. Wickedness is being sold as freedom. Truth is called hate. Deception is the new normal. We live in a fallen world, and the more you see it, the more sickening it becomes. They've raised generations on distractions, fed us lies from every direction, from schools to screens to politics, made us believe we're evolving when really we're being enslaved. The earth isn't what they told you, history's being rewritten, and behind it all is a system, a spiritual force that doesn't just want to control, it wants souls. Mind control's not science fiction, MK Ultra was real, and most of society is walking around under a spell, laughing at the very idea that they're asleep. But here's the cost of waking up. You lose friends, you lose comfort, you lose the ability to pretend that everything's okay. Because once you see the system for what it really is, you can't unsee it. This isn't about politics. It's not about left versus right. This is a war between kingdoms, and Jesus is the only one who can save you from it. Not just in eternity, but right now, in this life, in this mess. If you think this war won't affect you, it already has. And if you think silence will protect you, it won't. I'm not here to scare anyone. I'm just here to warn you. Because once the door slams shut, it's too late to ask questions. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That's not just a promise. It's your only way out.
So this is just a quick message to my people. Okay, you beautiful brown and so-called black people out there in the world all over. Did y'all know how special y'all are? Do y'all know how special you are to the Most High? Like, he said you are so special and that he loved you so much. He created you to be above all nations that are upon the face of the earth. If you don't believe me, open up your Bible and read it. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6 says, "Thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth." Above every other nation, every other people upon the face of the earth, you are above them. This is what the Most High declared in his word. God is not a man that he would lie. And this is what our people have to begin to understand. He said he loves you above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Why do you think they try so hard to keep us down, to keep us out, to keep us oppressed, to keep us separated, to keep us conflicting and fighting with one another, to keep us hating one another? Who done this? The so-called white man's done this and been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of years. In that precept specifically, it is declaring segregation. The Most High, when he created us, he always wanted us to be separate, especially from these Edomites, so-called white people. He always wanted us to be separated from them. Being intermingled and entertained with them, entangled with them, it's brought us nothing but bad. Think about it. Countless amount of times, it's brought us nothing but bad things. Go back. Think about our history. Since we came over here to America, And for the natives that are from this land, that are indigenous of America, here in America, this is your land. The moment that so-called white people came in contact with the natives, it's been nothing but bad. And this is what we have to understand, y'all. We have to separate from our enemy. We have to come back together with one another and begin to build each other up and begin to love each other, okay? And with that being said, you cannot do that with an enemy in between you and your people. When our people begin to wake up and actually grasp that concept, how powerful we would be as a nation of people. Right now, our nation, our people, and the majority of our people don't know who they are or where you come from, don't know your ancestors, your great-great-great-great-grandmother. You don't know. So you run to the so-called white man to get a DNA test just for them to give you a lie, to give you some sense of, oh my goodness, this is where I come from. That's a lie. We Israelites, we the children of Israel. You come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. That so-called white man, that's a fraud. That's not who our Savior is. That's not the real, his name's not Jesus. He was a Hebrew man, okay? And with that being said, he was very dark skinned. All the things that they so-called don't like about us, they copy. Make it make sense. If you don't like these big lips or this big nose, let them tell it. Or that nappy hair, let them tell it. But then you turn around and you copy it? Like, make it make sense. It's time for my people to wake up and realize how special you truly are. Know who you are. Remember who you are. And know that remember the power and the greatness that is within you. You have to separate from your enemies. Your enemies have pulled you down. And make no mistake, your enemies is so-called whites. The Bible tells us that. We was sold to our enemies. We was brought on ships and sold to our enemies. And no man has bought us. Look at history. That's why they can shoot our people down in the street and go off not guilty. That's why they can have a knee on the neck for 9, 10, however many minutes the officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck until he took his life. And now they ready to acquit him and let him out and go not guilty. The things that they do to us, shoot our sisters down in the street, pregnant, and go off not guilty. How they cheat us. In order for you to get a house loan, your interest is going to be 10 times your white counterpart. In order for you to get a car loan, your interest is going to be 10 times your white counterpart. Y'all, we have to wake up and separate from our enemy. I'm all for segregation because segregation is biblical. And these so-called whites, they know that and they understand it. That's why they cleave so tight to us, y'all. They don't like us, but yet they want to be just like us. And they just can't help themselves but to be up in our business. But with that being said, keep y'all butts in the house. Do not go out there to that April 5th protest, okay? Tomorrow is the Sabbath. Observe the Sabbath. Stay at home. Chill. Don't cook. Don't buy. Don't sell. Honor the Most High. And He'll bless you. Shalom.
America, we're tired of living like this. We're tired of suffering like this. We can build a nation of our own. So we've gone to the judge, and the judge is not some cracker sitting up in a courtroom. The judge is God Himself. And we helped you get everything you got. Oh, by the way, you love the flag? The first person to die for your freedom was a black man named Crispus Attucks in Boston, Massachusetts. We've been involved in all your wars for your freedom. We ain't got it yet. We still singing, we shall overcome. Well, that song is ended, and the melody ain't even lingering on. We're tired of injustice. We want to separate. We want a nation of our own, and we want a good send-off, because everything you got, we helped you to get it. You got it on our backs. For 310 years of slavery, we picking the cotton, we're baling the cotton, you using the cotton, turning it into linen cloth, and your brothers in the north were masters of the needle trades. You sent the cotton all the way to England. England became rich. The Rothschilds became rich. All of you became rich on us. Minister.
Welcome back. When I say God is separating the evil from the righteous, I'm not talking about churches. I'm not talking about church politics. I'm not talking about denominations or man-made religion. I'm talking about a divine spiritual principle that has shown up in every culture of our people across time. How? In ancient Kemet, Egypt, they call Ma'at. Ma'at meant balance. Ma'at meant it meant truth, justice, and harmony. Okay? Anything that went against Ma'at was considered evil, was considered destruction and chaos or chaotic. So when pharaohs ruled in alignment with Ma'at, the land prospered. When they broke Ma'at, famine, disorder, and downfall came. And that was separation, a spiritual law that made it impossible for evil to prosper forever. Among the Yoruba people, they speak in, Orunmila? Something like that. And the divine order that separates right from wrong. Among the Akan of Ghana, they speak of Nyame as the supreme God who does not tolerate corruption and wickedness. In Ethiopia, the ancient scriptures of the Beta Israel spoke of God who would sift nations like grains, keeping the righteous and burning away from the wicked. And in the Bible, the parable of the wheat and tares tells us that let them grow together for a while, but when the harvest comes, the wheat will be gathered and the tares burned. And this is the time of harvest. What does this mean? This means the lies of the world, systems that lied, are being exposed right now. It means those who stood on oppression, exploitation, and deceptive are being revealed for what they are. This means that those who stayed faithful, those who stayed connected to truth, those who walked in righteousness, no matter how small, no matter how oppressed, are being elevated right now. I love history, and I'll go back to the historical example of separation. When we talk about the Exodus story, whether you take it as a literal history or a symbolic prophecy. But the Exodus of the Israelites from Egypt is one of the clearest examples that God looked at his people who were enslaved for generations, building cities they will never own, laboring under oppressions. He separated them from the Egyptians. Plagues fell on the oppressors, but the oppressed were preserved. Pharaoh's empires collapsed, but the people walked free. And that is divine separation. Another example is the fall of Rome. Rome built its empire on slavery, on blood of people. For centuries, they seemed untouchable. Okay? But the rot inside will not last forever. Corruption, greed, and oppression, okay? It ate Rome alive. Meanwhile, those who carried the message of justice and truth survived, okay? And while Rome fell, again, separation happened. Another example is look at the end of the British Empire. In the modern world, the British Empire declared itself ruler of the globe, okay? Calling itself the sun never sets on the British Empire. And they said the sun did set. Why? Because its empire was built on the exploitation of Africa. British Empire was built on exploitation of Asia, the Caribbean, the indigenous lands. So by the 20th century, the oppressed were rising, demanding freedom. The colonizer could no longer hold on. They lost India. They lost Africa. They lost the Caribbean. Okay? And that was separation. The evil system fell. The oppressed nation reclaimed their ground. In 1960, America faced a reckoning. For centuries, it kept black people in chains, under Jim Crow, under systematic racism. But when civil rights movement rose, truth clashed with lies. Righteousness clashed with evil. While racism is still alive, the system of legalizing segregation could not stand. Same thing happened in South Africa with apartheid. Okay? Nelson Mandela and the people brought light, and the darkness of apartheid was separated and destroyed forever. So history keeps showing us this. When evil and righteousness try to live side by side, the time always comes when God separates them. Now, in today, while we are seeing symptoms of separation, I don't know if you are seeing symptoms of separation, okay? For example, America declined because America has called itself a land of freedom for a number of years, but it was built on stolen land, it was built on enslaved Africans. But today, we are seeing cracks everywhere. We have economic collapse, we have political division, we have rising violence, climatic disasters. You know, America is being exposed, okay? The system that called itself righteous is being shown as evil, okay? Another separation in recent days is Africa awakening. Africa was plundered for centuries, but right now African nations are rising. African nations are kicking out exploiters. African nations are taking control of resources, building Pan-African unity. The righteous are being lifted and the evil exploiter exposed. So this is example of separation. Another example in today's is the diaspora unity. Black people in America, black people in Caribbean, in Europe, in Latin America are reconnecting. This is an example of separation. If you look keenly, you look closely, you look spiritually, you will know what I'm trying to say here. Okay? Those who mocked Africa are now regretting it as they watch their so-called first world nations crumble because black people who were the strongest, the stronghold of their countries are no longer willing to work for them. They are going to the motherland. They are going to their homes. Okay? Separation is exposing false leaders. Technology and truth. The internet has exposed lies that stood for centuries. Colonizer could hide their crimes in the past, but today we have cameras, we have archives and voice speaking truth. Lies are being destroyed and truth is being elevated. These are not random events. These are signs of a great spiritual sorting, and I call it a separation. Now, this means a lot to black people. Family, it means a lot to us. It means that those who stand for righteousness, those who stand for justice, unity, love, liberation will be preserved, will be protected and elevated. But those who align with oppression, those who align with greed and betrayal will be exposed and fall. So it means that every black person has chosen or has a choice to make. Every black person has a choice to make, that will you stand with the system that enslaved, colonized and destroyed your people, or will you stand with the God of truth who is lifting his people up? To black people, this means that we must stop fearing the downfall of evil systems, because when America collapses, when Europe declines, when their economies crash, families is not the end of black people. This is our liberation. And that is God separating us from those who enslaved us. This means that we must stop playing the victim and start preparing to lead, because when the dust settles, the righteous will be called to rebuild. The righteous will be the leaders. And the family, those people are us black people. The biblical parallel that applies today is because many people think that the Bible is just an old book. Whether you are religious or not, it contains powerful prophecies that line up exactly with what we are living through today. Okay? Take the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, to be precise. The people lived in those nations were ignorance. They lived in greed. They lived in weakness, They oppressed the poor and ignored justice. And God sent messengers to warn them. They laughed, they mocked, they carried on with their evil. But what happened? God separated the righteous, Lot and his family, from the wicked, from the cities that were on evil. And those cities were destroyed, but the righteous walked out. If you look closely, doesn't that sound like today? We see nations built on greed, racism, and blood. They mock the truth, they reject justice. But the time of separation is here. The wicked will be consumed by their own corruption, but the righteous will rise. Okay? When you take the story of Noah, for years, Noah preached that the flood was coming, and the people laughed. They mocked. They called him crazy. But when the flood came, only those in the ark were saved, and the wicked ones perished. Family, the flood of today is not just water. The flood of today is economic collapse. It is a climatic disaster. It is a political chaos. It is, and the ark today is the truth. The ark of today is the unity. The ark of today is the righteousness and the power of the Most High. So those inside that ark will be preserved. Those inside the ark, those who are inside the truth will be preserved. But those who build their countries with lies and everything, they will perish. When you look at the story of Egypt and the plagues, each plague separated the oppressed from the oppressor. Darkness fell on Egypt, but the Hebrews had light. Diseases struck Egypt, but the Hebrews were protected. When death swept through, those who obeyed the Most High survived. That is separation. So today we see plagues too. Today we see pandemics. Today we see economic disaster. We see wars, and separation is happening again. Okay? The Bible, the Quran, and African oral traditions, they all point to this truth. Even Ethiopian prophecies, they point to this truth. When evil grows too powerful, God always steps in to separate it from the righteous. You know what that means in today's world. That's why we are seeing empires falling. That's why we are seeing black people uniting, global awakening of black people. That's why we are seeing African rising. Don't let anyone lie to you. Before the Bible, before Islam, before European religion, Africans already knew about the God of separation. Among the Dogon of Mali, they speak of the creator who brings balance when chaos takes over. Among the Zulu, they speak of Unkulunkulu, who tests the hearts of people and separates the pure from the wicked. Among the Shona of Zimbabwe, ancestors' spirits intervene when rulers abuse their power, bringing down empires built on evil. Even our griots and storytellers carried the theme. The drum of truth will always be heard, even if the liar tries to shut it down. Okay? In Ethiopia, the Kebra, they are called Kebra Nagad. They speak of how God preserved the righteous line of Solomon through Africa, keeping truth alive while empires fell. And that's why Ethiopia never be colonized, because separation was already at work. In West Africa during slavery, our ancestors sang spiritual songs like Go Down Moses, comparing themselves to the Israelites in Egypt, okay? And they knew God will separate them from their oppressors. They knew slavery will not last forever. And they were right, okay? Emancipation came, even if the struggle continued. And today, African prophets still speak this truth. Leaders like Thomas Sankara, Lumumba, Marcus Garvey, they spoke this. They all declared that Africa will rise and the oppressors will fall. That was separation. Even when they were assassinated, but their words lives on and their vision is unfolding in our time today. I know you are seeing that. Let me speak a little bit about America, because America is the most obvious example of separation happening right before our own eyes. America built itself on two great crimes: the genocide of native people and the enslavement of Africans. Okay, it claimed to be a Christian nation, but its hands dripped with blood. It called itself a democracy, but it denied black people the right to vote, the right to live free, the right to be human. For centuries, it prospered. But let me tell you, the prosperity came at our expense. And now, the bill is due. America's economy is collapsing. Debt is out of control. Inflation is crushing its people. Violence is rising in the streets. Politicians fight like children while the people suffer. White supremacy is eating the nation alive from within. So this is not random. This is separation. And God is exposing the lie of America greatness. He is showing the world that the nation built on blood cannot last forever. Have you noticed that Americans suffer, but black people are waking up? Have you noticed that? Okay? More of black people are embracing Africa. More of black people are building businesses, are building communities and connections. More of black people are rejecting the lies of white supremacy. More of Africans are rejecting the colonizers. And that's not an accident. That is God lifting the righteous while the wicked system crumbles. Okay? Even white America are admiring it, and they are saying it openly that we are in decline, that our empire is falling, and they see it, but they cannot stop it. Why? Because the separation has already been declared. And Africa rise is part of the separation. White America and Europe decline, but look at Africa. Africa still struggle, yes, Africa still struggle, yes. It is still in corruption and exploitation, yes. But beneath all of that, something powerful is happening in Africa. African youth are rising. They are rejecting all the leaders who borrowed or bowed to West. They are demanding independence. They are demanding control over resources. They are demanding dignity. Look at Burkina Faso under Captain Ibrahim Traore right now. He stood up and said no more to the French exploitation. He stood up and said Africa must unite. Africa must rise. That is separation. And leaders stand for righteousness while exposing evil. That is separation. Look at Niger, look at Mali, look at Guinea, look at Kenya. They are saying enough is enough. That is separation. Look at African nations, how they are starting to unite. From ECOWAS to the African Continental Free Trade Area. Even though it's not perfect, but it's a sign that Africa is rising and the world cannot stop it. So that is divine separation at work, okay? And for centuries, diaspora were taught to reject Africa, to see Africa as poor, as backward. But look at what's happening right now. African in diaspora are coming back to the motherland. African Americans are moving to Ghana, are moving to Kenya, are moving to Nigeria. They are reclaiming their African heritage after centuries of erasure. And that is all of great separation. The righteous are being pulled back to their roots and the wicked are being exposed and isolated. That's what I have to say today. I thought of that. I thought of separation that is happening. And I'm like, wow, I'm seeing this one is spiritual. I'm seeing this one is so deep. I don't know if you agree with me. I don't know if you agree with me. Okay? Tell me what you think on the comments section about this video. Until next episode, peace out.